I don't want to like put on a tinfoil hat, but I feel like I have to. This feels almost malicious.
I'm not saying that every person that's not happy that Jen is not in the game is saying that because they hate women. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying though is that there are people though that are in that community that are saying this because of a woman. But you see the contradiction where you say you're not one of those people, but you quickly go to reply to defend that in the comments. That instead, if you just read what the dude tweeted, you'd be like, I want to defend that. This isn't an argument about Jen and being the main character, not being the main character. This is him being mad that it's a woman. Like, there's no way to flip this or even try to argue and say that's not the case. Like, that is what he's arguing. Yeah. Okay, let me fix my mic.
Hello?
Yeah. Hello. You able to hear me?
Yo, you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you fine. How you doing?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I can't complain. All right, so
first off, I just want to start off by saying, like, yo, like, I'm a big fan of like GI and you guys. Like, I've been like listening to you guys for about 10 years. So it's crazy to be. I'm kind of starstruck and nervous right now.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm just a regular dude on the internet like everybody else.
Everybody says that, but it's hard. You know, it's hard.
Sure. All right, so what did you want to talk about? Because I had it on Twitter, like what I said, and I guess like you had like your own take on it about like, or just a rewind, I guess.
Right. It's just not even just the take on, you know, what's going on with Ghost of Yōtei. Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, it's apparently it's pronounced Ghost of Yōtei. Yeah.
So it's just not on the take of Ghost of Yōtei, but it's just on the take of the current state of gaming itself. And with, I guess, though, it was just like what's going on with certain sequels, I guess. Because Ghost of Yōtei is published by Sony Interactive Studios, right?
Yeah, it's published by Sony. It's developed by Sucker Punch, so same studio, same publisher.
Okay, so that's cool.
Yeah.
There's a couple of other games that are also published by Sony Interactive Studios that I felt were kind of woke in terms of sequels, and for starters, one was The Last of Us 2. Would you admit that was woke?
So before I even answer this question, I first want to make sure like I establish that I understand like what you're saying when you say woke. Can you please give me like what you think? Because it seems like everyone has whatever they think is different for what woke means. So what does woke mean to you?
To me, woke means, I would say, things that are in politics right now, as far as the extreme. For instance, in The Last of Us 2, I think it was either one of the two characters, she was trans.
Okay.
I forget which character it was.
Sure.
But I felt that I didn't really understand what was the point of her being trans in the story. I didn't really understand it.
Okay. Can I ask you, why does it matter if someone in the story is trans or not?
That's a good question. I mean, it's just why I feel like why did the devs feel the need to put that in the story?
Because trans people are real people that exist in our world. And it would make sense within that universe that in a post-apocalyptic scenario that there would be potentially like trans people there. And it's not like everybody in the game is like trans, right? Like it's only like what one person. I'm trying to think, because I think I know who you're talking about. I think it was Lev was trans, but I'm not sure. Because again, like I didn't care. I just cared about them as a character. I didn't care if they were trans or not. It didn't really bother me or I cared.
in my opinion, I still just felt like it was forced. It was weird to me, and I don't have any problem with
Yes,
trans
Lev.
people.
Lev was the
It
character.
just
So
like
how is
it,
it forced?
it's forced.
So when you say forced, how is it forced?
I can't explain it, man. It just felt, it just felt forced to me, you know. Um,
Okay, but you see the
you know,
problem with that statement, right? Like saying like I'm asking you to explain like how is something forced, but you can't tell me how it's forced.
I get you. I guess it's just to me, it just felt forced. I don't know. To me, it just did, you know.
Are you saying
Yeah.
are you just saying that because you don't want to say because it's just in the game and that you just don't want to see it? Is that why you saying it's forced? Is it are you just trying to just not just say you just don't want to see it at all?
Nah, man. I don't know. It just felt forced. I don't know how to explain it. It just to me, it did. Like I can't explain it. It just
So
felt forced.
but
It
why
felt like it
have
just did.
sorry, go ahead.
Like I mean, okay. For an instance that was real subtle in The Last of Us One, when we all found out Bill was gay, it was a special moment because when it first came up, it was like, yo, oh shoot, yo, that's a cool way on how they added that in there. We no one saw that coming. It was subtle. You know what I'm saying? It was just cool.
But
Like it
but
wasn't in your face.
but here's my thing about Lev. What about Lev isn't subtle?
And I don't know. I
Also,
don't know, but it
I have
just
to point out, like, I played the game, and I don't think there was like one point that Lev even brings up that they're trans. Like, from what I remember, because I think Lev hangs out most of the time with Abby, and when you're
mhm.
playing as Abby, and I don't. Again, this was a game that came out 2 3 years ago, so my memory's a little hazy on it. But from what I can recall, I don't even remember that even being a topic or even brought up. I just thought Lev was someone that Abby met along the way. That I think Lev was a Firefly, and Lev was
Right.
like by themselves. And Abby was like, okay, well, we need to work together to survive. So let's just work together. I don't think Lev's
I
what
mean,
identity even
I'm sorry. Go
mattered in the gist. I like even if Lev was like a straight, like if Lev ended up like, if Lev was changed to be like a straight boy or a straight girl, really don't think it would matter, nor would it have changed the story at all. So why would it matter
okay.
if they're trans or not?
Okay, so let me pitch this to you. How is it possible that in an apocalypse like that, how is it even possible for her you know for Lev to be that? Like, how did they get the necessary stuff for her to be like that? I'm missing something. I don't get it.
I mean,
Like,
so I'm just curious. Like, have you ever like talked to like a trans person before, or like have had a conversation with one like in real life, like any trans person? Okay, so
I,
to be fair, like I'm not gonna sit here and like tell that because like that's just not my lane. I don't know the full complexities of that, nor at the end of the day, it's a video game in a post-apocalypse, and you
right.
know whatever Lev, wherever Lev was, and however Lev was, and how Lev identified as, I just don't think it mattered in the grand scheme of it. It wasn't like a focus of the story. It wasn't even like even brought up, like I said. So I just don't get like I just don't get why it would even bother you. It's just another character,
I,
like no different than like if another type of character existed in the story.
I get you because I feel like to me it's almost like this was like a box that the devs had to check off. Like, oh, we got our trans character in the game. All right, let's go ahead and check it off. Like, we good. Like, we trying to appease to a certain audience, and we want that certain audience to feel included. So, like, to me, I don't know. It just felt forced. It's like a box they had to check.
So how would you say it cannot be forced? Just not having Lev existing?
See, I don't want to say that because I don't want to be like,
But that's
I
what you're
don't know. I don't.
insinuating. If you're saying that it's just forced and they're checking off boxes, then the only way they would not check that box is by not making that character.
I don't know. I don't know. It's just I guess that's how I feel about the whole situation with Tulu too. I don't know. I feel like to be honest with you, Hulu 2 kicked it off for everything else to be kind of weird in the gaming sphere and the gaming world. I don't know. It's just a weird situation all around, man.
I mean, like, what's weird about just people who just exist in our world, like in real space? Like, why does that matter if they're in a video game or not? Like, how does that detach you from being able to enjoy a video game?
It doesn't, but like I said, it just felt like a box that needed to be checked off. To me, it felt forced. And when I said to you the whole build thing, it felt perfect. It felt it just felt perfect. Like it wasn't in your face and nothing like that. But I don't know.
So here's my thing. Why is your issue with Last of Us 2 this problem when like they had LGBT characters even in the first game?
True, and that's another topic that we can get on because I love TV. I love it. But when it comes to the left of us, I mean to the left behind, I think that's what DLC is called. I haven't played it in so long. The left behind DLC. I played that DLC, but I did not like it. I felt that it was almost like the devs were trying to sexualize this little girl and another girl that was also close to Ellie's age. I was like, what's the point of us? This is an underage girl. Why would I want to know her sexual sexual? Oh my God, I can't say the word. Sexuality. Why would we want to know that? Like, I could see if she was like of age, I wouldn't mind. But I think both Ellie and Riley were underage. Like,
so is your
weird.
issue that they're young girls, or is your issue just like that they're even discover or even like discussing the topic
No, it's
of?
no, it's not that they're discovering themselves and their sexuality. It's the fact that they were underage. It's just weird. I could see if they were like, what I'm saying, like 19 and up or something like that. That would have been cool, but it's weird to me.
But
And I'm
so my
kind of
thing
weird that
is,
they kind of.
how are they sexualized in the DLC? Because at least from what I remember when I played it, I didn't get that impression at all. I just saw an impression of this is a story about Ellie, who is a teenager, mind you, and I'm sure we all remember back when how horny we were as teenagers, and just going through life and realizing how to accept this feeling of, oh, I think I like this person. Not that just because like, oh, she's a girl. It's just this is someone that I have a connection to in the apocalypse outside of Joel, which was kind of the whole point of that DLC. Like this was a moment where she's taken away from Joel. She's not near Joel, and she, if you recall throughout the entire game, she's very cold to everybody else in that universe. Like she doesn't trust a lot of people in that universe outside of Joel's like the only person she trusts. And this is like the first person that she comes to actually like open up to. And realize that like she actually like enjoys. I don't understand how that's like really like even sexual or like a sexualized thing. That just seems like a regular like human experience that we all experience in life.
Right. See, the thing is like, if this was also in a TV show, I still wouldn't even let them get away with it. It's like, okay, you know what I'm saying? Y'all here sexualizing two underage girls. Like, if I wouldn't let a TV show get away with it, I can't let a video game get away with it. It's just like
So you think a girl that is so let me ask you a question. So if you've seen any of those like high school movies or TV shows about like high school kids and let's say like a guy has a crush on a girl, is that sexualized?
ooh man, shit. Man. I think you got it. You got it. You got that. You got
Okay,
that. I
so
give you
like
that.
if by that definition, if that's not sexualized, then it wouldn't make sense to say that that DLC is sexualized either. It's not like they're like trust me, like I've played a lot
Not
of rated M games, and I can tell you from like and even games like where they're like straight up like having sex in them. And I would not say that that's even remotely like a one-to-one even same thing as playing that DLC compared to like I'm just giving an example of time like playing a game like
right.
Cyberpunk or Mass Effect and like basically having sex with like one of the characters. I wouldn't even say like now that's sexualized. But again, those are like grown adults and you're playing and role playing as a grown adult. These are two consenting adults. But I don't see that at all in the DLC or why that even matters in Last of Us 2. It just seems to me that this is a written story about a coming of age story, and there's multitudes of coming of age stories that exist in our media. It's not even just young girls, young guys, young girls, basically going through a very weird part, and everyone knows it. Everyone's had a weird moment in our lives when we're teenagers. Puberty hits us. We don't really know, your body's changing, your mind, your brain is changing, and you're evolving, and you're turning into, basically, you're making decisions on your life, and you're discovering things about yourself that effectively will form you into the person you become as an adult. So I don't really think that process itself is sexual in nature at all, unless it involves like something where they're like just straight up like just fucking on the like on the floor or something, but they're not.
I mean, see, you got me on that one, so I'll go ahead and bow out on that one. You got me on that. You got me.
Okay, sure.
Even though I can say the most forced thing in Chile 2 was the whole smashing scene with Abby. Like I still don't get why we needed to have that scene.
I would say that's sexualized, but that's still between two consenting adults. Don't see why that's a problem.
And it's like when it comes to other games, like Sony, they'll censor any other developer that wants to show some type of skin on the character. But when it came to that scene in TV 2 with Abby and God, what's the guy's name? Her
ex or whatever. I forgot his name, but yeah, I know what you're talking about.
They allowed that to happen. It's weird.
Okay, so so my thing about this whole thing, and I really don't care about the whole censor thing. I'm more in the guise of censoring the vision of a developer into what they want, but there's been no evidence of any of that, of any developing studio ever who worked under Sony that's ever come out publicly and said that Sony has like censored us and made us. Now, don't get me wrong, there's like rules that you have to follow, and these are just rules and stuff that they have in the guise of you're using our platform to sell your product on our platform. So obviously there are certain rules and that you must like follow as a standard for our games that are on this platform. And on top of that, that's the whole reason that the ESRB exists. That's the whole reason why there's ratings on video games, why there's like rated E, rated T, rated M. And I think a lot of that comes down to the responsibility of the parent of knowing what your kid is absorbing media wise. So I really just don't see that as a problem, let alone like of all the things that is wrong with the gaming industry. I don't find censorship within Sony's ranks as even like a notable point.
Let me ask you this. When Stellar Blade came out, right?
Sure.
Why exactly did that get censored? Why did Sony go to bat to censor that? But a full on smashing scene with Abby and I can't see the thing of that guy's name. It's right on I want to say it but I can't because I can't think of it. Owen. Why did they let that the smash scene with Abby and Owen pass, but when it comes to like censoring Stellar Blade, they just was like, nah, we about to censor this. Y'all not getting this. It's weird.
I mean, I don't, at least from what I've read, I've seen like quotes and interviews with the actual developers and like the leads of the studio that worked on Stellar Blade, and they all said the same thing, that it was their decision. It wasn't Sony. Sony did not force them to do anything. They said that they had a vision of what they wanted, and that was what they gave you guys when the game came out. So, I mean, I just don't find that argument even relevant or even doesn't matter. And I also speak like, as you said, if you're a fan of GI, like if you listen to podcasts, like recently, like when I talked to Watts about it, because I have not played Stellar Blade. I'm gonna play it now because of the near collaboration, but I talked to Watts on the podcast quite a bit about Stellar Blade, and she tells me like there is more than enough like quote unquote like sexualized content in that game, let alone like just from an outfit standpoint. Like even about talking about the censorship of like, oh, certain outfits here, like 2 inches of skin got hidden here and there for like whether it's artistic reasons or whatever reason. There's still a bunch of outfits like that.
I don't want to come off like one of those woke dudes that was all on the internet like campaigning for like, oh, we need more skin. Yo, I'm not one of them dudes. I promise you, I'm not one of them dudes.
Sure.
But yeah, I just felt it was weird that Sony would allow something like that scene from Tulu 2 to, roll by, and you know what I'm saying.
So here's my thing. Why try to defend them? I guess would be my question.
Try to defend who?
Why would you defend, like, for example, like from my tweet of what I was quote tweeting and the thing that I was pointing out about that, specifically that tweet, why even try to give them cover?
Are you talking about Yōtei, or
yes,
are we talking about?
I'm talking about Ghost. I'm talking about Ghost of Show. The original, like the whole point. Yeah.
That's all I was gonna say. I was about to get up. I'm sorry, I got off the topic. I was trying to get up onto that.
Yeah, sure, it's fine.
So are we now on Ghost of Yōtei?
Yes, yeah. Because there's no reason to talk about it. So Stellar Blaze out. It's been out for like 5-6 months.
That's my like I was like, my bad, bro. I'm getting way off the topic.
It's fine.
So with Ghost of Yōtei, bro, man, I feel that there's no way in the world that Sucker Punch didn't know. There's no way in the world that they didn't know that. I'm sure the whole, GOT fan base, I'm sure they knew we wanted a continuation with Jin. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like to me, he was a really prominent character that could have stuck along for at least a trilogy. Like, it makes no sense. It almost seems malicious to me what Sucker Punch is doing. I don't mind. I don't think anyone would have minded if Sucker Punch would have released Ghost of Yōtei back in 2020. No one would have minded that. I think the gaming world has this issue with playing as female-led characters like everyone says they do. We don't mind. Like, we've been getting female-led characters since almost for like years. Like no one cares. Like we've been getting we got Aloy, we got Metroid, we got so many. We got the chick. We got Tomb Raider, Laura. Come on, bro. Like I don't think people have an issue with female-led characters.
Okay, maybe, but then why is the original quote, the original tweet that I quoted, specifically talking about they don't like it that it's a girl? Like this is literally
because of the fact that like me going back to what I said, I think honestly, when everyone is saying, hey, we just wanted a sequel to Jin, everybody will fly up the handle and say, oh, you guys just don't like playing as female-led characters. I think that's really dismissive and just it's to me the straw man argument. Like, oh, because we wanted to play as Jin again, people will come out of the woodworks and say, oh, you guys just don't like female-led characters. No, like if we get a new IP game, right? For instance, Cal Kestis.
Right.
So what if we all love Fallen Order.
Sure.
So what if the next game was like a whole different character, like a whole female character? We would be saying, oh, well, why'd you guys even give us, Cal Kestis? You know what I'm saying? What was the point of doing that? Like, why would you, it just feels weird.
I mean, it just on the Jedi standpoint is that I don't know if you knew about the original
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, the original vision of the game that they were going to use a black woman as the main character for that game before Cal was even decided, and that basically it was like EA marketing. Basically, EA executives told them no, don't do that, make it a white male.
Yeah,
so and I
turned out bomb though.
But here's my thing. That's a reverse. Like, imagine if that had come out reversely. Like, imagine if it was in fact, if it was the other shoot around. That imagine if it was supposed to be, originally it was a black character or something like that, and then instead they said no, we just make it a white person. Like, where's the outrage for that? Like, there's straight up an evidence of devs actually saying that was the case, that was what they had originally presented to EA. Like, why are you guys not standing up for that and being like, that's not right? Your original vision, the developer's vision, is that you wanted to have a black woman, but executives stepped in and said, no, make it a white male. Why is it for that scenario you guys aren't losing your minds like you are about this Ghost game? But for Ghost, all they do is they tell you it's a completely different game, and your guys are like these people are like up in arms about it. And I want to point out too, which is I think very important, is that like I get what you're saying, but what you're saying doesn't match. Like your audio isn't matching the visuals. What you're saying doesn't match the visuals of what the guy said. The guy specifically said at the bottom of his entire tweet, he said, "I'm so sick of forced girl boss narratives, man." He's honing in on it being a strong, powerful woman as the main character.
I'm guessing that was someone else because it was that.
No,
I don't think that was
this
me.
is the tweet. This is the original tweet. The thing that I quote tweeted. If you click the whole tweet and you read it, at the bottom he says this. Like this is kind of the reason I was like, bro, like this is a loser mentality. Like don't get me wrong, I have no problem with playing. I don't care who I play in a video game as long as they're written well and that they do cool stuff. That's really all I care about. I don't care if you're a guy, girl. I'll play a trans character. I don't care. As long as the writing is good in that, that's all I care about. I don't care who the character is.
My issue stems from like, I lost my train of thought. It stems from lost my train of thought. Go ahead. I'll think about it.
Okay, like, but you see my point. Like, what I have an issue with is I have issue with, and I don't mean this like to be disrespectful, but I have an issue when people that do things like what you do, where you try to give people like this who are just straight up either being bigoted or they're just saying stupid shit that makes no sense or trying to run with stupid agendas and just cause people to just get pissed off about shit that doesn't fucking matter at all. That's completely irrelevant. That, to my point, game isn't even out. We don't know shit about this character. We don't know anything about the story. We don't know. We just know the bare necessities of this is way far in the future and it's in a different part of Japan in a different arc. Why even why do we care? Why does this matter?
Because of the fact that I'm sure like close to the whole fan base of GOT was expecting a Jin trilogy.
But they weren't. There's no reason to believe that. The Sucker Punch never started off the game telling you it was this. On top of that, I'd argue the writing was pretty good. Why would they even say that?
Come on, bro. Like, come on. Are we really gonna say? Are we really gonna sit here and say that like we really want like everybody was expecting Jin to return? We all were, especially on how the GOT left off. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people were expecting hey. At the end of GOT, right? Let's say this. Let's say Jin he leaves the island of Tsushima, and he's sanctioned off the island. He's on the run, and let's say the shogunate is still after him. The shogunate could be like, hey, I'm about to get the most badass elite crew of Ronins that I can. And I'm going to send everybody after Jin, as many people as I can. I want his head. And also the thought of it's kind of weird because I don't know about Jin's uncle. Is kind of like I don't know if he would have been in a sequel because it was a 2-part choice. We could either spare or kill him. So I don't know how he would have fitted in a sequel. But if they would have made a sequel, he could have still been in it, and it would have made for a good story.
But here's my thing.
You know what I'm saying?
You're giving your own opinion about this, but at the end of the day, the developers are the ones that built this game. They wrote the story for this game. They had the foresight already before you even touched the controller to even touch this game. They knew what they wanted to do with this game. They finished it. They released all those free updates. They gave you that free expansion. I felt like Jin's story was pretty good, and it ended on a really good note. Is there stuff that leaves like a possibility for a sequel? Yeah, sure, but it's not.
I'm sorry. No one had that rhetoric before we saw the Ghost of Yōtei trailer. I feel like no one had that rhetoric until we saw that trailer.
I'll be honest with you. I don't think a lot of people think like Ghost of Tsushima, the big selling point, the big thing about it is its story. I have a friend who played it. I have like 2 friends who play it. Multiple people. I don't think the strongest thing of that game is its story. I really don't think that's what it is. I think it was The rhetoric was it was the Assassin's Creed game that we wanted for years, that Ubisoft had failed on delivering to us for years. We always said we wanted Assassin's Creed to go to Japan, and this was the first game that felt like a next-gen version of Assassin's Creed, action-based, not RPG-based. That was the rhetoric. I remember distinctly. That was what people were talking about. The story stuff was cool, but that wasn't really the highlight of like what people walked away with. I remember the big thing was always it was kind of in a way people making fun of Assassin's Creed, saying like this is what Assassin's Creed should have been like 3-4 years ago.
Mm-hmm. I get you.
So like I don't see why, and on top of that, it's still the developer's choice. If they want to go and make their sequel in modern day, I don't have a problem with that. I think that's cool. I personally think it's really cool, as they said, they wanted to build this as what you said, like a franchise or a trilogy of ghosts of like the first time people do this.
And that's where we kind of defer, because I feel what they're really doing right now is they're trying to make this into like a universe. To me, what made GOT good was Jin. That like the story surrounded around him, not vice versa. Like the ghost is Jin. So I don't get why they're trying to call Ghost this new character when the ghost was something that derived from Jin to begin with. Once he put on that mask, he became the ghost. So if they want to call this game something else, like, and leave Ghost out, I would be fine with that.
You're an Assassin's Creed fan, right?
Yes, I love AC.
Okay, so you remember you played all of them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so you remember?
I'm not gonna sit here and say all of them, but I play.
There's a lot. I don't expect you to be able to play like all the side, games or whatever.
I play Altair. I play all of that. Yep.
The mainline stuff. Okay, so Assassin's Creed went through the exact same thing, and it became a mega franchise as a result. So when Assassin's Creed first started,
it was only supposed to be a one-off game with just Altair.
No, it was supposed to be. Remember, the first game was based off of Altair, the same setup as Throne, as Ghost, and it was the same result. The second game, you would have been the same one arguing the same thing. Oh, why is it not on Altair? We liked Altair. He was the main dude. He was the guy. He was the focus. He was the dude of the Brotherhood. Why are we not still on Altair? They instead shifted the time zone. They went somewhere in the future. And what did you get? You got Ezio, arguably one of the most famous franchise characters in the entire of gaming. So, like, why would you not give Ghost the same, like, level of, like, opportunity and chance to say, Altair's story wasn't finished. As a matter of fact, they went back and this is what I'm saying. Like, why even go into it with a closed mind and say, it's screwed?
This, I don't want to, put on a tinfoil hat, but I feel like I have to. This feels almost malicious.
How is it malicious?
Back in 2020, when GOT first came out, it was going toe to toe with Tilu 2. You had so many people bashing Tilu 2 and praising GOT. I feel that there were certain people in the industry that could have been like, you know what, we don't like that. We don't like that. And for the years that's going to come up, we got something for you guys. I feel this is almost malicious.
That doesn't make sense. So you're telling me the developers made a uber successful game that's now started a franchise that potentially could end up being just as good, if not better, than Assassin's Creed. And you're telling me that they sat back and said, let's ruin it?
We're not going to give you guys a Gen sequel. I know that sounds crazy, but
why would they? When I sit back, like, same thing like Spider-Man, whatever it is, like, why would I sit back and be like, small picture, let's just continue, let's just make Jin Ghost of Tsushima 2 and make it where it's Jin, or let's make a brand new one where we can make a brand new character in a brand new setting and expand on the lore and the universe of this Ghost setting. And mind you, this doesn't even mean, and this is what something I said. When I saw that announcement, the first thing in my head did not go, I didn't get Jin 2. The first thing that went through my head was, oh, wait, this is like 300 years in the future or what, 200 years in the future. I said, oh, it'd be dope? It would be dope if Jin does in the first game is what this new character, when she goes through whatever she does to become a ghost, she relies on the teachings and the history that Jin established in the first game to guide her to the second game. This is the same thing that Assassin's Creed has done. It's a proven formula that works. I don't understand. Like, it's very simple for Sony to be like, Ghost was very successful. This is what I think happened, and I'd argue this seems more plausible than trying to put on a tinfoil hat and try to make a conspiracy. I seriously think that it's a very simple thing that happened. They finished Ghost of Tsushima, they saw the feedback, they saw everybody really love the game, and they compared it and said, this is like Assassin's Creed. So they said, let's look at Assassin's Creed. What do? They do exactly the thing that you guys are now mad about. They literally made it. They said, okay, we're going to a new game, a new setting, and we're going to make a new character. But they're all going to be interwoven with a ideology, the ghost ideology. Just like how the assassins are all interwoven between nothing is true, everything is permitted. Like this entire, and this creates a lineage that then you can go all around the world and you can do all these cool things. I think Ghost is going to probably remain in Japan, but I would think it would be sick if, like, maybe in the future, 5-6 years in the future, they make one in Africa, or they make one in Russia, or they make one in Canada or something. I don't know. Like, I think it would be really cool if they make it global, kind of like what we always felt like Assassin's Creed could have done, should have done, took a long time to do, but they got to it finally. I don't see why this has to be a problem. For all we know, this new character could end up becoming like the Ezio of the franchise, or something that pushes it forward. Again, we don't know anything about this character. We don't know anything about her writing. Why even like make a jump to the conclusion to be like, this is just bad? We don't know until we play it.
Because I guess to me, it's like I would have just preferred if it was just a trilogy game with Jin, I guess. Like the whole them trying to make this into a universe thing, I feel like it fitted with Assassin's Creed, but I don't know, man. I don't know. To me, it just doesn't work. I don't know. But we'll see. We'll see. I mean, yeah.
Sure. So yeah, I just don't think my thing is there's so many other things. Like I'm personally, I don't know how old you are, but like this just sure. So you're basically my age. This just shouldn't be a conversation. Like even to come to this point where like this type of reaction is even necessary seems kind of insane to me. Like we aren't even talking about we're not even barely even talking about like, oh, cool, like there's a cool brand new game out, or better yet, that we even got a game for this. Like they could have just went off this and went back to make Sly Cooper remastered, like they've been doing all the other stuff. Like to hear that we're getting like the second game for it, and that they're expanding it and they're adding new stuff to it, and that they're going to be experimenting, trying new stuff. I think that's exciting. Like that's stuff to get excited for, not to like. It's wild to me that the first thing you see is a woman, or you see a new character. It's not Jen, and then the first thing it just makes you think like, I just don't know.
I don't want people to think, because I don't have an issue with playing as a female-led character. And I'm sure a lot of people, other Ghost of Tsushima fans, just wanted. Our minds were already stuck on Jin. I'm sure we already had it in our heads what the story would have looked like. And once we saw what the trailer from 2 days ago, we were like, dang, man, like freak. I could have seen if Sucker Punch would have like released, Ghost of Yōtei would have been what was released in 2020. No one would have had an issue with that. We would have been like, okay, cool, whatever. We'll play as Zerbo, whatever. But it's the fact that they had already given us a cool established character, and now all of a sudden people are saying, oh well, Jin's story was already wrapped up in the Iki Island, Iki Island DLC. Which I still don't see how it was wrapped up in that DLC. I still don't get. You know what I'm saying? Like,
okay,
yeah,
but
I don't know.
You understand how just like in Assassin's Creed, they can always go back.
True.
So why does it matter? Like for all we know in the game, how do we know that there might not be a flashback to Jin back when he was younger, and you get to play as him again in this new game? Like this is what I'm talking about. Like when we're jumping to conclusions about stuff that we don't even know because we haven't played the game.
I get you. Like and us playing as him as a kid in like the Ghost of Yōtei would be cool, but I want the whole cake. Like,
but I'd argue you got the whole cake. You got like an entire game, mind you, that was really good. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a really fun time. I enjoyed it from start to end. I thought the Legends thing was awesome. It was a really good game. They did it all around. They did a great job. I don't
like. I mean, just think about it like this. What if? Let's. I'm sure we've all played Drake's Uncharted Fortune, right? I'm sure, like,
what game? Sorry.
I'm sure we've all played Drake's Uncharted Fortune, the first game.
Okay.
Right? Once we played as Drake, we all loved him. Now, let's say for the sequel, if back in the day, we got a trailer for the sequel, and it wasn't even Drake. Everybody would have been like, "Yo, what the heck? Come on, bro! Like, Drake was amazing in the first game. What are y'all doing?"
I mean, I personally wouldn't have cared. Me personally, that's just my, because I don't care for Drake, but that's just my own
Well, I'm
personal
still like
preference.
I'm just thinking like just think about one of your favorite video game characters that has a trilogy.
Sure. So I'll give you a good
Just think
example, right? Witcher is one of my favorite, right? So Witcher has finished off, right? Its trilogy, right? And they're talking about Witcher 4, and people are like, bring Geralt back, right? I don't care if Geralt doesn't get used.
Yeah, because he's had a trilogy. I don't want him to be back in the fourth game. I want somebody else.
Yeah, but I wouldn't even care. I wouldn't even care if even if the second game he got replaced by that. Or personally, what I felt too was like in Witcher 3, I'd have been totally fine with playing Ciri the entire game.
Nah, but you can't.
No. I genuinely enjoyed Ciri a lot. Like because she was a really well done character. And I feel like the times that they let you play her, that's why she was well done, is because they let you play as her. They don't just have her on the sideline where it's just like, oh, we're just gonna watch her. Like the entire story, the entire message of that game is literally telling Geralt to step away and to like basically like to let someone else step up.
I'm talking about for like, okay, if you played The Witcher 1,
sure,
and let's say Geralt wasn't in The Witcher 2, you wouldn't have an issue with that?
Nope, I wouldn't care. The only exception would be is if so this is the difference, right? Sucker Punch has never come out and said this is a trilogy. Now, if they had told you guys this was going to be a trilogy from the beginning, then that would have been different.
True. You got it.
But they never told you guys. Really the fault is all on you guys for making an assumption, and then you're mad that your assumption was wrong. There's no reason to be mad about that. It's like you made an assumption, you were wrong about that assumption, but there's no reason to lose your mind over it and say all this crazy stuff about it.
We already had preconceived headcanon. I get you. True.
Yeah. So yeah, it's no different than people who have fan headcanon, or they have their what is it, fan fiction, and they're mad that their fan fiction or their favorite ships don't end up becoming the reality of what the author wants. It's asinine. There's like no reason. And me personally, I don't think it's right for you to then go on the internet, and I don't know if you've done this in other places, but I don't think it's right to try to masquerade that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that every person that's not happy that Jen is not in the game is saying that because they hate women. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying though is that there are people though that are in that community that are saying this because of a woman.
I get you. I'm not one of those people though. Like I said,
but you see the contradiction where you say you're not one of those people, but you quickly go to reply to defend that in the comments. That instead, if you just read what the dude tweeted, you'd be like, I wouldn't defend that.
No. I don't think because you said there was a dude that said something about boss power. I don't think I replied to him. I don't think I like thumbs up. I don't think I like agree with his post or anything like that.
Right. No, but what I'm saying is, so I can put it in the chat or DM it to you just so you can look at it. If you look at the tweet, right, how all tweets work, you see what I'm replying to. So if you see the quote tweet, you see the original. Now my guess is maybe you didn't hit the see more, which maybe I'll give you a chance to see more and read that. But even still, this argument that he says, even in the first paragraph, if you read the first paragraph, the first thing he goes to is he's talking about the sex of the person. Like he's just going women. He's going Ghost of Tsushima sequel stars a Japanese woman samurai warrior because of course it does. They can't help themselves until every franchise that was built on masculinity is replaced by women. This isn't an argument about Jen and being the main character, not being the main character. This is him being mad that it's a woman. Like there's no way to flip this or even try to argue and say that's not the case. Like that is what he's arguing here.
Yeah. So I don't know about that tweet. So maybe I didn't see that one. I don't know. I'm not like bigging that dude up or anything because I haven't seen it. But I'm just saying from my view. And I'm sure from a lot of
I'm just trying to understand. So are you saying you just replied to my tweet without reading it?
No. I'm saying I didn't see that dude's tweet that you're talking about, like where he's like, I'm like going on this, tyrant about boss power, girl power, and all this stuff. Like
right, but there's no way on Twitter that you can not see his tweet based off of my tweet because I'm quote tweeting it. It's not like I replied to him. Like this is like a full on like I am showing you his tweet and I am quoting it to make the point that it's a stupid point.
Right, well, I'm going back now to see what's going on. Let me see. Because all I know is I put my point, and I don't know like
Like, if the argument, and it seems like this is also where the contradiction comes from, and this is my frustration too, is you're trying to have your cake and eat it at the same time. You're trying to say on one hand, no, it's not about it being a woman. It's about Jin not getting his trilogy or getting more time to shine. He deserved to have more time. Yeah. But on the other hand, you're also saying on the other hand, in your reply, let me see if I can pull it real quick. But you're also saying saying at the same time, and even was the entire reason why I quote tweeted you, which is you're then saying in a tweet 19 hours ago about how everything's getting woke because there's women in it. You see how this is a contradiction, right?
Did I say that? Let me see the tweet. Let me see.
Oh. Like you're saying, like right here, like you're saying, like no one will say anything about Sony Interactive Games getting woke sequels. The Last of Us 2, Marvel Spider-Man 2, and now Ghosts of Yōtei. What is going on with today's gaming and today's gamers sticking up for all this propaganda? Nowhere in this tweet have you said anything about Jin Setkai or getting anything like that. You're insinuating. Again, I could be maybe misreading this, and maybe I give you a chance to clarify yourself. But the only way that someone could read this is by you saying that you're not even upset about Senkai in this tweet. You're upset that either, I don't know, they're replacing masculinity with women, or you're upset that there's woke stuff, which again, if you're saying that it's just, I'm sorry, I'll pull up what you said so I don't misquote you. You said that woke was extremes in politics today that are being shown in, I guess, a video game. So if you're saying that, then I don't know. I just don't perceive as these three games that you've listed even showing that, not to mention the third game, you haven't even played it. We don't know anything about it. Why you'd make that assumption?
You talking about Ghost of Yōtei?
Yeah.
Because like I guess it all just stems back to, it feels like this is almost like deliberate to say, hey, like, but you kind of disagree on it, on how I feel on how they could have continued with Jin's story, but just decided not to. It almost feels deliberate to me. But that's just me.
But how would it be deliberate? Do you think it was deliberate when Fallout made a female character for their TV show?
That's not where I'm coming from. Where I'm coming from, okay, if a dev decides to make, if they decide to make a new IP, right?
Sure.
They give us a new character, a new like a you know what I'm saying, like a male, female, whatever. And then out of nowhere for the sequel, they just switch it up. Say like if a dev gives us a female character, and for the sequel they give us a male when we were already attached on that female character, it's kind of weird. Or if a dev gives us a male character and then they switch it up for the sequel and give us a female character, it just feels weird.
Why does it matter? They're everyone's
because
human.
Of the fact that it goes back to the model in gaming to where it's okay to like have a character get a trilogy. I feel like it's a bad precedent being set to where, okay, if we're gonna get a new character, then give us our trilogy, bro, for that certain character.
I personally am of the belief that I don't think giving everything a trilogy is a good idea. That's how you get studios locked into being forced to make one game over and over for the rest of their like natural lives.
I'm one of those people that believes in, I like one-off stories too, but I just don't feel that Jin's story was a one-off. I do feel that Sucker Punch, and like I said, this may be my tinfoil hat. I do feel they had something planned for him.
Would you have been upset if they had made the sequel, but instead of it being this new character, it was in the same time period, but instead of it you playing Jin, it was the woman that he basically his love interest?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
I said, would you have had a problem if they made the sequel, but instead they made it his love interest, Yuna? So you play at the same time Jin's in the game, but you're playing as Yuna, and Jin actually helps you out the whole game.
They would like see to that. There it goes. I would go to like why are we playing as Yuna?
What if they want to explore her story? Because I'd argue she has a lot more, and she actually had an amazing art. And even I'd even argue the old the older woman that was also fighting with Jin and helping her, or helping him. I'd argue she was helping him more. But would you say that, like, I say that they have way more story and capability of like things that they can show off and talk more about? Yeah, Lady Nasako. Thank you for reminding me.
I feel like equally. I feel like all the characters have, a good amount of story to them. But the story that they gave to us first was Jin. they might as well just continue with that.
But they showed us all the other characters as well. Their stories are
I just don't want them to give us Yuna or that the other older lady in the sequel just because, and that's what it would be like just because, like.
So were you mad at Assassin's Creed 3?
AC3?
Yeah, were you mad at Assassin's Creed 3?
No, because like I said, Ezio, he had already had his trilogy.
Would you say that?
Oh, are you saying because Connor didn't get a second game?
Yeah, so Connor's story wasn't done. It definitely wasn't done. And they skipped him and went to the Caribbean.
No, I feel like Connor wrapped this story up. He got back at Lee. What Lee did in the beginning of the game was crazy.
So he finished his arc, but I would say he wasn't done as a character. I think
even
Ubisoft said they could have made a sequel to him.
I mean, listen, Connor got revenge on Lee, which was all. That's all that I needed. That's all that I needed.
So you can't perceive how some other people feel that they got everything they needed from Jen?
No, because of the fact that Jen had literally, I feel like he still lost everything, even though he won the battle. He was sanctioned off the island of Tsushima, and I felt like deep down the Shogun probably, if we would have got a sequel, the Shogun would have sent people after Jen. It was still a story to be told.
There is, but that doesn't necessarily mean you have to tell it. There's a lot of times, like, a lot of stories will give you, like, open opportunities, or at least tell you, like, hey, there's more other areas that we can touch that. But that doesn't mean that they have to do it in chronological order or follow it in a certain way. I mean, Assassin's Creed is infamous. I'd argue Assassin's Creed has been infamous for this, that they have been all over the map when it comes to their timing of sequences of events.
I'll give you that. You got that. So let's, because I don't want people, like in the chat or whoever, what I'm saying, like to think I'm one of these anti-wokers or anything like that. Bro, if you go to my Twitter, I've been standing up. I've been sticking up and standing up for AC Shadows.
So why? Why are you sticking up for Shadows?
Because for one, to me, this Ubisoft, this doesn't feel like it's malicious or deliberate. Way back a couple of years ago when RIP to Chadwick Boseman, when he was still here, there was talks that he was going to be Yasuke. He was gearing up for that role. I feel way back then, because it said, I think Ubisoft came out and said they had AC Shadows already in talks way back in 2018. Maybe they wanted to rev up something too with Yasuke. Because Hollywood was getting to rev up Yasuke as well with Chadwick Boseman. So I don't feel this was, we just want to make a black samurai just because. It's a smart move. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of these anti-woke guys, they don't feel that way. They just feel like, they're going with Yasuke because he's black, which I don't agree with. Yeah.
Okay, so in that scenario where you feel like the anti-wokes are wrong, why would you be retweeting stuff that they're pushing out about ghosts then?
I don't know, man. I guess it goes back to me. I guess my feelings being hurt about Jen not being in the second game.
But do you understand how crazy that sounds? Like, you're upset it's a small that a character's not be picked, but these people are genuinely these are terrible people. I want you to understand that. These are very terrible people. I don't think this is easy to understand.
I wouldn't say all of them are terrible people, because maybe some of them are just like me. They just wanted Jen for the sequel again. Now I'm not gonna sit here and say all of them are good, because they're not. They're like you said, there are some dudes out here that are kind of sexist and don't want to play as female-led characters. I'm not repping for them dudes. I'm just repping for the people that really wanted to see Jen again.
So I'm just trying to understand, just I can make sure I understand your mindset. So you're saying you're not for the anti-woke, but you'll still retweet their content and like their content. that talks about it being anti-woke, or them harassing the voice, not even the voice, yeah, harassing like the actor for the new character. Like, you think that's okay?
I no, I haven't retweeted anything about them harassing, the woman. I haven't retweeted anything about that. I think if you go back to my tweets, I don't think it says nothing about that. But I
So
did retweet.
you didn't quote tweet the thing about who the character is being played as, and the same dude that you said you didn't read his tweet, you retweeted what he tweeted.
I I retweeted the chick. She is blocking people. Like she just like out of nowhere just starts blocking people. As soon as that trailer dropped, she was already blocking people.
You don't think it's right
just
for her to
weird.
block people? You think it's weird that she would block people who are harassing her?
No. I'm saying once that trailer dropped, she was already in the midst of blocking certain people. That's my point.
Right.
Now, if there's people,
Sure,
if there's people that are like harassing her now, I get that she's blocking them, but she was already pre-blocking people as soon as that trailer came out.
so you know that people can have like bots set up for their accounts that basically they scour or they look for certain, like, whether it's replies or people who are having conversations on Twitter and saying things that she might not like, or whether it's like anti, like, for example, like from what I've read, like I guess she's really woke, I guess. But I'm assuming like she wouldn't want anything like hatred towards like trans people or women or something like that. And so if maybe you were doing that sort of activity on Twitter or just mouthpiecing that sort of thing, that this bot would catch it and just ban you. You don't think that's fair?
You got that. You got it. You got that. I get that to you. You got it.
Yeah. So like, so this is my thing, right? Like, and this is the difficulty that I have is that, like, you know the phrase about like your audio isn't matching your visuals, right? That, like, you can say one thing but the visuals aren't matching what you're saying, so there's a discrepancy.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm saying is that you can say on one side like, oh, I don't agree with that, I'm not with that, but like when you're following people that push that sort of stuff,
I get you.
it doesn't look good. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't look good at all.
Right. I got you.
And I'm not here trying to tell you like, oh, like, I'm not trying to judge you and be like, you need to change your ways and da da da. Like, I'm not that type of person. But what I am trying to say to you is that, like, if you genuinely do feel that way, I'm just saying is that the perception of the way that you put your opinion out there, whether it's like defending Assassin's Creed, because I'll be completely honest with you, I just checked your Twitter before that because I was just curious when you replied. I was like, let me just see what type of person is. And that was like the first tweet I saw. So I was like, wow, that wasn't even, I didn't have to like scour.
I get you. If you go on my Twitter, like it's some stuff. I get you.
Yeah, like it looks really as if like, yeah, like you would be a part of that targeted audience of like anti-woke. Everything is woke. Sony censoring us. Like these are talking points that literally like these anti-woke people they constantly push. These are things that I've constantly like have been like fighting, not even I wouldn't say fighting against, but like been like just making a mockery of and laughing about for like the past several months. Is just like, in my opinion, these people are insane. Like, I grew up in a time with video games where, like, back when we were talking about stuff, it was either we were getting pissed off about microtransactions, and that was the thing that people were beefing about on the timeline about that, and people buying microtransactions or DLC expansions before the game came out. Or back in the day, I remember it was online codes. You had to pay to play online with a code for each individual copy. That used to be what I remember used to rile people up. Nowadays, I feel like it's just been hijacked by me personally. A bunch of tourists. These people do not have the interests of gaming in mind. Half of these people I feel like are grifters. They aren't real people. These people just latch on to anything. They see a woman, it's got to be woke. They see a black person, kind of why you're even having this issue where you're just like, I don't agree about this Assassin's Creed thing. It's woke. And
but at the same time, I feel that it's like a lot of these people, I don't think they're just grifting just to grift. There are women characters and there are black characters in gaming that we love, that are well written. And nowadays, there are certain characters that are either a woman or that are of color that just feel forced into certain roles of gaming. When as in back in the day, we had certain female characters and black characters or any other characters of color that were well written.
Can you give me 10 well-written black characters?
Oh man, damn,
give me 5. Can you give me 5?
right, I'm gonna try. Barrett. Um. Oh man, damn, bro, you caught me on the spot, man. I mean, they're in gaming,
I
bro.
would
Like
not say
you caught me on the spot.
Barrett is a loud, over the top black
He's
man that
like
yells. I would not
he's over the
qualify
top.
him.
Like, it's just
I will give
stereotypical. Like
credit. I will give credit. The remake has tried to paint him in a better light, but I would not say his original incarnation looks good.
I get you. I get you.
I
You
can
caught me
give
on
you.
the
I
spot
can
with
give
that
you
one.
a couple. I probably can name like three, maybe three. Like ain't no way I'll ever say Coltrane is a well written black character. He's once again he's a caricature of black people.
I was thinking of culture. I was about to say.
But Coltrane's not a well written black character. He's a caricature. He's a very loud black guy that goes woo. Like, what are we talking about? That's not a good written character.
I mean, it's some out there. We just can't think of them right now, but they're out there. We can't
I
think
give
of them
you
now.
the only ones I can think of is there's Lee from Walking Dead, there's Bayek from Assassin's Creed, and I would say shoot, I'm even trying to think of the third one. I would say from Mafia 3. Those are the only three that I can think of that were like well-written black characters. But I would say a lot of them. Oh, and someone in chat brought it up. Yeah, and I say Reed from Cyberpunk from the DLC. I'd probably say that these characters are Reed from Cyberpunk, the Phantom Liberty. It's Idris Elba's character.
It's probably way more out there that you just can't think about at the moment. But
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I played a lot of video games, and it's rough. Like to consider that, like you had to take a while to like. And I like these are three that I could just off the top of my head remember because I've constantly had to bring this point up. I've always had this issue with a lot of people who argue this point that try to argue and say that, oh, back in the day, we've always had this. We always had this. But if you look at the stats, it hasn't been the case. Either they haven't been written well, and I don't even think it's like a racist thing. It's just one, writing back in the day wasn't really a priority for gaming. And then when it did start, when people started actually caring about writing good stories for video games, there aren't a lot of black people in the gaming industry. There's not a lot of black writers in the gaming industry. And I hate to say it, this is kind of why diversity is important, because you do need to have those voices in the room, in those writing rooms, when they're writing characters that aren't like them. They need to have that perspective. Like me personally, I don't want someone writing. I don't think that like just because of your race, you can't write another character, but I do think that there are certain, like, whether it's like cultural or whether there's like background or setting things that like you should get the perspective of people who live there or grow there if you're going to make a character that represents them, right? Like for example, like Japan, right. If you're making a game in Japan, my expectation would be for you, whether it's, which is a good example for the Ghost game, right? Ghost did exactly that. Like, would you say Ghost of Tsushima's woke?
No.
Okay, so would you say if a studio, kind of with Assassin's Creed, a studio that goes out and consults with a third party, a diversity party of people to get the perspective of their culture in order to make a game that they have no understanding of, right? You would say that sounds right. Like you should do that, right? Yeah. But people would call that woke. That's literally what happened with that whole Sweet Baby thing. That was literally the exact same scenario. And people literally, those same anti-woke people hijacked that entire thing and then literally just ran all of them off the internet and then made a whole entire movement talking about any game that's touched by these people is going to be woke. It's going to be messed up. Even though they were highlighted as making some of the best-selling, most popular games that have come out in the past like 5 years. So you see what I'm saying? Like there's no... What I hope you kind of take away from this is, and maybe you'll reflect on it a little bit, is just that like I don't think that these people have your best interests at heart. All right, look, we're two black men. I'm telling you right now, I genuinely believe these people that you're quote tweeting and stuff like that, or just retweeting, these people do not have your best interests at heart. A lot of it is called like, at least in politics, a lot of it is called like dog whistling. Obviously, they're not going to straight up say, I hate women, or I don't want to see women, or I don't want to see a black person, which is what they basically did with Yasuke. I don't want to see it. They're not going to straight up tell you that. They're instead going to use different innuendos and different wording and phrases that seem less inflammatory to convince you that, oh no, I don't care. I don't care if it's a woman. I just care that it's that we didn't get that our masculine man, that Jin didn't get his fair thing, but that now he's been replaced by a woman. And if you look at all these other games that have come out from Sony, we've slowly seen that. That's what they tried to do with Spider-Man 2. They said, we used to have a white Spider-Man, and now we have Miles Morales, and he's not Spider-Man. That can't be real.
Yo, hold on. That's another argument that I have with that game. We had See, if I'm thinking about a Spider-Man sequel, give me a Spider-Man sequel. I don't. I want Peter Parker, bro. There was. I feel to me there was no reason to have Miles. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, he could have been in the game, but like maybe for a certain part. Like he was. I feel that him being in the game as like on some type of like he's also a playable character. He wasn't needed. They had already gave him a full on game.
But his story wasn't done. Why is that a double standard for you?
Because man, like I don't know, but like I said,
I'd argue Miles' story wasn't done. It ends on a cliffhanger, as a matter of fact. Why for that game? Why do you want him to be mitigated away from not being playable?
Does it end on the cliffhanger? Because I think the chick like didn't he beat her or something? I don't know.
Yeah, he did, but there still was the whole thing with Peter, because Peter was just away from the city for that limited time. But he said that when I get back to the city, we're gonna meet up and we're gonna take care of, we're gonna just keep working on your superhero training. That means it wasn't complete. Just like the Jen story, saying that there's still stuff that can still be explored with Miles.
Like man, Peter could have been just talking, bro. Like it could have just that could have been just the Dales, giving us the wink to be like, okay, like we're gonna have Miles in the game, but he won't be like I don't know, playable throughout the whole thing. Like, I don't know, but if I want to play as Spider-Man, I want to play as Spider-Man.
But Miles is Spider-Man. Like, he does the
oh my God, bro! He's Miles Morales.
But he's still Spider-Man. If he puts on the mask, he's still Spider-Man.
That would be like me saying, because at the end of the day, the way I look at Miles Morales, he's a sidekick. That would be like me saying that Nightwing is Batman. I can't say that.
But that is true. Nightwing has taken the mantle of Batman multiple times when Batman went MIA, or when Batman dies, Nightwing takes his mantle and becomes Batman.
I'm saying he has taken up the mantle. Yes, you're right. He has taken up the mantle of Batman at one point. But I'm not going to go out my way to be like, okay, this is Batman too. I'm going to always know him as Nightwing.
Right, but he is Batman. And like on top of that, like I think it's very important to understand that like how iconic that Spider-Man is, and it kind of is disappointing to hear you say that when like literally the creator of Spider-Man, like Stan Lee, says that like Spider-Man isn't just Peter Parker. Like when he developed that, right? Like that Spider-Man is supposed to be that when they developed Spider-Man, that it was this idea that I remember when I was a kid that like anyone could be behind that mask. Like that, it could be anybody. It never mattered of who was behind, whether it was Miles, whether it was Peter. It wouldn't matter. They're all.
My point is I as Peter Parker, I don't gotta identify just because I'm black, I can't be like him. Like I don't care about his race. Like it is like his qualities, bro. Like, oh man, I just relate to Spider-Man. I don't care if he's white. Like,
you don't think Miles has the same qualities as Peter Parker? You don't think that he has literally the exact same qualities that makes him qualify to be a Spider-Man? The same ethics?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that with Miles Morales, I'm saying just because he's of color doesn't mean I gotta I'm gonna just automatically relate to him type shit. Like,
I mean, maybe not for you, but I'm pretty sure like there's tons of kids that do relate to Miles Morales. Like, don't get me wrong. Like I'll give you a good example. I don't relate to the newest Spider-Man from the MCU. I don't relate to him, but I know that's because I'm older. But I know that a younger kid will relate to him. I know when I was a kid, I really I connected a lot with Toby because that's what I grew up with. But like it's a different thing when you're an adult compared to a kid.
True.
So like I don't understand how I don't know how you can say on one hand you don't care about the race or the race doesn't matter to you, right? Then you shouldn't care if whether it's Peter or whether it's Miles is playing as Spider-Man. I'd argue, and the cool part was by having them be both Spider-Man that both do the same. They swing with webs, they fly, they fight crime, they follow these fundamental tenets of what it means Spider-Man, neighborhood Spider-Man, but they serve different neighborhoods, which I think is awesome, and they're culturally different neighborhoods, but they all unite towards a single goal of protecting your community and helping your community out. And seeing that, and what's even awesome is even while they're still the same type of person, they're still Spider-Man, both of them. They're different in their own unique ways from a gameplay standpoint, like how Miles plays way different from Peter. especially when Peter puts on the symbiote suit. They're completely different play styles. Like that shows that like, you know, that's what is the power of like what diversity is and how cool it can be, is that when you don't have diversity, everything feels samey. Everything's the same. Everything is just different shades of the same type of gray. But when you have diversity, you can have things that are way different. You can mix them up. You can do these really cool things. So it shouldn't matter if whether it's like it's Miles or it's Peter, or whether it's Jen, or whether it's that. For all we know, and for all you know, you might play the game and I'm loving it.
That's my dude, man. Like that's who we all grew up with. Like let's let's not kid ourselves. That's Peter Parker, bro. Like,
I mean, yeah, I grew up with Peter Parker. I love Peter Parker too. I grew up Peter Parker. But I'm not gonna sit here and act like when I saw the Spider-Verse movies, I was like, wow, this might be the best piece of Spider-Man media I think I've ever seen in my life. Like better than what I saw when I was a kid. Like,
I mean, to be honest with you, I like the Miles Morales and the Into the Spider-Verse movies more than I like this Miles Morales that's in a video game. He just
you know what's crazy? I agree with you. I wouldn't even disagree with you. I think that the Miles they've done in the movies is 10 times better than I have my own disagreements about the writing of Miles in the video game. Yeah, I wouldn't even disagree with you on that. Yeah, I wouldn't argue that, but I wouldn't go as far to be like, oh, well, he's not Spider-Man. But I do agree with you. I would say is that I liked Miles's writing in his spinoff that he had before the second game, but I feel like they messed a lot of his writing up in the second game. I'd argue a lot of Peter's writing. I'd argue that, and this was what I argued before when the game got out, the writing for Spider-Man 2 was like, I feel like there was a downgrade in it, but it wasn't because of some woke thing or something like that. I just think from like, from what the story established of the first two, the game and the sequel, they kind of do things that go against kind of like what they established them from their writing in the first game.
Right. So would you say, and I know this may get me canceled, but this is like, yo, don't, and people in the chat, yo, don't go off. But I was listening to a certain person that I shouldn't even name him. It's almost like I'm about to say Voldemort. I was listening.
Okay.
I was listening to Synthetic Man.
Okay.
We all know him.
Yes.
And he was saying in like, because I was listening to his full-on hour review of Spider-Man 2, and throughout that whole game, it was almost like the writers low-key were disrespecting Peter Parker. The way there were certain characters were talking down to him, the way Mary Jane was talking down to him, saying that he couldn't do certain stuff, saying that he wasn't good enough for this and this and that and this, or like, you don't pay attention to me, you don't do it. Like, it just felt like my childhood hero was being talked down to.
You don't think that like, there's low, but that was the same that happened in Spider-Man 3 in the movie when we were kids. Did not Peter get literally shot down by Mary Jane too, the same exact way? That's what made him basically put on the suit?
No, that like the movies hit hard. Like it's
that's what I'm saying is that like is that not the same thing? Like don't get me wrong, I have my own critiques of the Spider-Man story but that is not my critique of it. Me personally, I would not listen to a cent that Synthetic Man has to do. In my opinion, I think that man is a racist, a sexist, a bigot.
Listen, I would agree with you. A lot of his points I agree on, and a lot of his points I don't. I've been in his chat to where his chat is raunchy as hell. It's raunchy as hell. And that's how I know he's kind of prejudiced.
But why watch his content when you know that? Like, if you know that he's prejudiced, if you know that, let's be honest, like we know that we already know it, hates black people, probably hates Jewish people. Wouldn't shock me. Again, I barely watch the man's content. The only way I know about this man is because I see clips on Twitter or YouTube algorithm tries to feed it to me, and I tell that shit, I don't want to see none of that shit. But I do my best to stay away from that type of stuff. Like, sometimes I might check it just to see like what outside of my echo chamber to see like what the hell or why are people losing their minds about something. But almost 9 out of 10, everything he points out, either he's factually incorrect, he wasn't paying attention, he didn't play the game, or he's just making bullshit out of his ass. I think the Warhammer example is a perfect example of that, where someone who doesn't know their shit, doesn't know shit about the universal lore, and just talks out of his ass. I don't know why we should even listen to that person or even give any credibility to that person.
Like I said, I have some points, like some vids I agree on, and some vids like I don't with him. Like, he gave a bad review to, Jedi Survivor, and I love that game. I understood that he broke down certain points in that game to where the game came out broken. I agree on it with that, but you got certain stuff I agree and certain stuff I don't. Yeah.
Sure. All right. Well, I don't know. Unless you have something else, I don't know. I really just don't have anything else that I could possibly say. That's pretty much it. My whole thing has always been is just we gotta wait and see. I think that a lot of this grifter shit I mean, a lot of this shit is just grifter shit. I'm happy that I'm kind of mad, or not even mad. I'm a little saddened that it's taken, I guess, a lot of the more generalized gaming community to take this long to realize that these people are full of shit. But I'm hoping that as more of these video games come out, like I'm already seeing it multiple times with every single game. I am personally, and I've been thinking about making a video about this. I am personally getting tired of every time a game gets revealed, every time we talk about a game, these people hijack the topic, and we miss the entire point of even discussing the game. We don't get to talk about the story. We don't get to talk about the gameplay. We don't get to talk about like the things that should really matter about it being entertainment in a video game. Instead, people want to instead argue about the wokeness and the women and the politics in it and the trans people in it and the scarring in the game. Like this stuff needs to stop, in my opinion. It really needs to stop, and I think that more people need to stand up to it and just need to straight up call it out and call it for what it is. It's just fucking bullshit, and it needs to fucking stop. But I do appreciate you, because I'm not gonna lie, a lot of people they just talk this bullshit and they run away and they don't do that. So
maybe I'm just mad because of the fact that I got my head canon. My head canon was messed up. Like when like she took off the mask and I was like, oh, like you know, I was like, yo, where's Jen at? Like it's not even that she was a woman. It was just that my head canon was already set to Jen having a certain story for a sequel. But
sure. Yeah. But either way, I do appreciate you. Thanks for taking the time to chat. And I mean, we'll see in a year. We'll see how it rolls out. So we'll see when we see more.
Kind of starts looking nervous with the fact that I've been following GI, man, for like over 10 years. Starting with TBH, back in his MWN days, on finding him out through freaking World Star, and like bro, like you guys are my top content creators. Like it's crazy. I'm actually talking to Ethos. It's crazy.
Sure. All right, but you stay safe. All right, buddy.
Thank you.
All right, peace out, man.